way, and I'm going to start with a little story here. There was a guy who was shopping, went to the mall to go shopping, and he collapsed. And all the clerks and the people who were around him swooped in to help him. They called 911. The paramedics came and took him to the hospital where he had a triple bypass. And he woke up a couple days later, or a day later, and found that he was being cared for by some nuns in the local Catholic hospital. And a couple days later, he found himself face to face with a very stern-looking nun with a clipboard with lots of papers who came to talk to him about how he was going to take care of the bill. And so she said to him, "Well, do you have health insurance?" And the man said, "No, I don't have health insurance." And she said, "Oh." And she said, "Well, do you have savings? Do you have some money in the bank that you'll be able to pay this bill with?" And he said, "I got no money in the bank." And she started to get a little irritated. And she said, "Well, do you have a family member that might be able to help you out with this?" And he said, "Well, I do have a spinster sister, but she's a nun." And that really got this particular nun pretty angry. And she said to him, "Nuns are not spinsters. They're married to God." And he said, "Okay, well then send the bill to my brother-in-law." So that actually does refer to my talk today, because what we're talking about is how we can depend on God, right? We can depend on God. And so at the beginning of the year, what's traditional in Centers for Spiritual Living, formerly Religious Science was our name, our churches, is that we go back to basics. What we do traditionally in January is we go back to the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind, which is our textbook that lays out the spiritual philosophy, and we go back to that foundational teaching to steep ourselves in that so that it's the springboard for our year. And the first day of it is one of my favorites because it's all about God, and, excuse me. Okay, and as we start from that foundation of what the power and the presence that we call God is, then we move forward in a whole new way. We move forward from a whole nother level of consciousness. And so that's what we're starting with today. So this title, I Am the Way, most people are familiar with this because it's a scripture that's very famous, John 14, and it goes like this. Thomas said to him, "Lord, we don't know where you're going, so how can we know the way?" And Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really know me, you will know my Father as well." Now, as this is the basis for my talk, this is a scripture that has been used by the Christian world for a whole long time to say, see, Jesus is the only way, right? It's through Jesus that we get everything, right? And that's a particular interpretation that we see a little bit differently, I'll be honest. We look at this a little bit differently because what he's saying in this, the way we see it, is what he's saying is, it's not him personally. Let's face it, if you read any of Jesus' teachings, if you studied any of what he came to do, to shine, to say, he was not Madonna. He didn't say, "I am the best. It's only me." His teachings were, "These things and greater shall ye do." His teaching was that the kingdom of heaven is at hand and it is within. It's within you. He kept telling us over and over again that what was true for him is true for us. He was not saying, "Yo, it's me or nothing." There's a lot of boasting going on out in the world, and I'm not going to name any names, right? But Jesus didn't have that way of being. He wasn't really about being the one. He was about sharing the light with all of us. His teachings were here to guide us to a deeper relationship with God. So the way that we look at this, is as if we added one little word here. I am is the way. The I am, all in caps, is a synonym for God. The I am, the great I am, is that power and presence that is all things. And that's how we look at God. That's how we see God. We don't look at God as that Santa Claus God up on the cloud, giving us what we want, maybe if we're good or if it feels like it. That's not what we think of God as. Or we better be good just in case it gets mad at us, and at the end we can say, look, I did this, and I was good, and I did this, and I did that. There's not a checklist. They're not checking it twice. It's not happening. The I am presence is the creative force that brought forth all things. And I love the book of the month. We're going back to Ernest Holmes' The Art of Life, because it talks about God as life itself. And the sooner we reprogram that early programming that God is mad at you, and you did something wrong by being born, right? Like the sooner we reprogram that, the better off we're going to be. Because when we can start to see the divine as that creative force, that divine architect of the universe, that has brought forth all things, including each and every one of us, we can open to the fact that it's there to serve us, to support us, to guide us, because we are part of it. We are part of the body of God, and we are here to live the divine life. From the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is inside you and outside of you. Split a piece of wood, and I am there. I am the all. From me all came forth, and to me all are attained. Lift up a stone, and you will find me." The divine is present in all life and in all matter. It's like a flame that gives off sparks, right? The spark can only stay lit as it is close to the flame. When it goes away from the flame, what happens? It peters out. It's that spark, that connection to the divine. And we do that. We connect to the divine through our conscious awareness. When we can never be separated from God. We can convince ourselves that we're separated from God, but we can never truly be separated from God. So there's nothing that is beyond a new experience of life. No matter how long or how much we have believed that we have been forsaken by life. No matter how long we believe that we are not worthy or good enough. You could live your whole entire life, and as you take your last breath, I hope you don't wait till that moment to realize this, but you could take your last breath and realize, I am one with all things, and you are the presence of God made manifest. With all of that creative power, with all of that support, with all of that wisdom. And as we turn our eyes and connect with it and see that which God is, we are, and find that place within where we can feel it and know it, our lives open up, and all of those blessings that were talked about in the reading come forth freely and fully, easily and effortlessly, because we are completely connected to Spirit. Jesus said, "He who is near me is near the fire, and he who is far from me is far from the kingdom." And so, as we are allowing ourselves to be aligned with this presence, as we are allowing ourselves to be aligned with this truth, it floods into our experience. We have more synchronicities. More inspiration comes to us. New ideas, new ways of seeing, new ways of thinking, new ways of being show up. There are opportunities and possibilities and synchronicities that happen with people coming into our experience to guide us and support us and bring us all that we need. But we have to be willing to believe that. Because it's through our belief and through our faith that channel opens. We cannot look into this world and try and see the infinite divine source of God. This world, this material world, is a world of limitation. God is not limited. God was never limited. God was never intending any of us to be limited, to have limited thinking or an experience. It's about freedom and expansion. Just look at nature, right? Just look at nature. Let's look at the trees that continually flower and bloom and blossom every year. They're expanding, they're growing, even though they don't move. There is so much life there, right? Can you feel that? When you're in nature, you can't help but feel the power of it. That is right where we are. But we think of ourselves as some little tree. I'm limited, I can't move. I can only go so far. I can only get this far. But you were never meant to be limited. You were never meant to do anything but to continually expand and grow and bring forth the gift that you are unto the world. Again, Jesus said, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So what happens is when we convince ourselves that the truths of the world, that what's happening outside is really true, then we forget who we really are. And we forget that divine gift of life. When we have not overcome the world, as Jesus taught us, as Jesus wanted for us, as God wants for us, that life principle that wants to burst forth, that life principle that wants to be expressed in you and as your life. I want to remind us that all things are possible. There are so many miraculous stories of things that you could not even imagine happening. If we look around at this world that we live in, there are amazing gifts and amazing things. I want to remind you of the platypus. Have you ever seen a platypus? Right? Like that thing, you would never imagine that that thing could exist, right? It's like a duck and a beaver and a deer. It's like a strange animal, right? And what it reminds me of is that anything is possible because there's a platypus, that it exists, that it is part of the divine wholeness of life, right? And each one of us is like a platypus. We are our own unique, crazy combination of things. Right? Some of our personalities and our bodies and our ideas and our dreams and everything, all of that put together, it's like we're a platypus. I hope you're not insulted by me saying that. Because I think that I love them. I think it's amazing, but it's so unique and it's so different, and each one of us is that. And as we get into our platypus energy, as we allow that to be who we are and be okay with it, and not try to be the beaver or the duck or whatever we think it's made up of. I should put a picture up so we could all have a debate over that. But whatever it is, as we integrate all of our parts into the wholeness of what we are able to be present with the gift that we have been given in the perfect way that it's been given for us. Our lives are perfect for the path that we're living. The life, the body that you have, the mind that you have, the family that you have, the situation that you've been born into is perfect for the divine adventure that you signed up for in this life. You have signed up for a great, amazing, adventurous vacation in this life. And it's perfect for you. Because God has arranged and aligned all of this for your growth and expansion. And it's whether we allow that or we fight against it. I am is the way. Being connected to that spiritual truth is the way to our freedom and to our peace. Because I think on some level, that's what we're really looking for, is some place of inner peace where we can stand in the eye of the storm and let either whatever's up for you, the status of the world, the status of our country, whatever's going on, we just all, I want you all to pat yourselves on the back. We've all survived the holidays with our families, right? You survived it. Whatever that felt like, right? That we can stand in the center of the storm, God forbid, our families here, we call it a storm, but we could stand in the middle of whatever that is and find some peace. I think that that's part of what we're seeking. I think that's part of what that divine call is, to find a place where we can be at peace with who we are and the experience of our lives. And we only do that through the I am, through God. Walking in that knowing. And we only do that, we can only walk in this knowing, we can only put these spiritual principles into practice in our life when we believe them. If we work that spiritual muscle of belief, of faith, there's no way around it. Let me tell you, I've tried. I've spent a couple decades of my life trying to get around this stuff. I know you would think that it would be the opposite, but the truth is I've been trying to prove this wrong for 20 years. I've been trying to say, no, I can do it myself. Nope, I'm going around it. Nope, I'm going under it. Nope, I'm going by it. Nope, I'm going to slide by this. Nope, nope, no, it's not. It's not about growth. It's not about God. It's not about trust. It's not. It is. That's what it is. It's about our faith and our trust in knowing that there's something greater than we are and allowing it to have its way in our life. I'm going to save you some time. If you don't fight it, if you accept it, if you work on developing that spiritual sight and that spiritual muscle of faith and believing in it, it's as if the clouds parted this morning when I drove over the hill. It was still cloudy a little bit over the hill when I was coming from Fallbrook, and it was one of those magical mornings where I drove over the hill, down into the valley, and the clouds parted, and the sun was shining. That was the feeling of what my talk was today. I wish you could all be with me to see it, because it's as if it's as simple as that. When we step into our belief, when we step into our faith, when we step into our knowing of what the truth of God really is, and we can accept it, the clouds part, and the sun shines, and something amazing reveals itself into your life, and I don't know what that's going to be for you, but I know it's going to do it. The Talmud tells us that over every blade of grass whispers an angel, grow, grow. But what happens in our life is that as the angel whispers over us, grow, grow, we yell, no, I'm not going to grow. I don't want to grow. Because grow means change. Grow means expansion. Grow means coming into a new way of letting go of what's comfortable and what's small for us. But we were never meant to be small. That divine presence, those angels, that essence, that presence that wants us, that life, is in, through, in us all things. And so all is the body of God. All is the creation of the divine. And we're not separate from it. Just because we can think we're separate from it, doesn't mean you're separate from it. You can convince yourself you are, and there's a whole heck of a lot of people, even religious people, who have convinced themselves that they're separate from God. And that breaks my heart a little bit. Because I don't want anyone to feel like they're outside of this presence. You know, here at CSLTV, one of our main visions, one of our main goals is to create a space where everyone's heart can have a home, where your heart can be safe here, where you can be welcomed here, where you can find a place to just be who you are and to explore who you are and to grow from that knowing. And that's our goal for Sundays, that's our goal for our classes. Is for you to get in touch with the blessing and the truth of who you are, because we already know that. We know that you are a divine emanation. You are the light made manifest. And we're just waiting for you to catch up and see it too. And so we do that in so many different ways. We do it through prayer. We do it through time together. We do it through laughter here at this church. We do it through our classes. It's all about allowing that truth of life, which is never ending, which is ever expanding, which is God in action, to be alive as you. So, again, Ernest Holmes says, I have a little reading for you. And you know, look at that, I forgot my glasses already, first week of the year. Here we go. Ernest Holmes says, I love this book, Ernest Holmes says this, we have all been trying to find out just what our relationship to life is, because we know by pure intuition that if we could establish a right relationship with the invisible, we should find peace, beauty, health, harmony, prosperity, and happiness. We should be able to live in the kingdom of heaven while on earth. Our difficulty is that we've been trying to unite that which was never divided. We've been looking for life outside of the self. We are like the fish, trying to find the waters of life in which it already is immersed. When Jesus said the kingdom of God is at hand, and when he explained that the kingdom of heaven is within, this is what he was talking about. Jesus announced the presence of God in man, as well as around him. We are the fish swimming in the ocean of God. That has great implications for us, I think. That we are seeking something outside of ourselves that we can't even realize that we've already got. Where are we going to find it? You go to the mountaintop, I am there. You go to the bottom of the ocean, I am there. You go in your meditation, I am there. We're already there. But we can't accept it for ourselves. We haven't been able to allow it to be the truth of us. And so that's the first step. That's the first step in realizing the life we've come here to realize, is to know that it's all God. It's all that life principle, and it's all good. It's not there to hurt you. Life isn't against you. Everything on the outside that's happening isn't there to hold you down. I can hear almost, and I can't remember who it was in my life. Maybe it was one of my grandparents. But I just remember hearing that belief that you got to fight against life, or else it's going to hold you down. You got to make your way, or else you're going to be lost, or whatever. That's just not true. How do we want to be in relationship with life? That's the first question I want you to ask yourself this year. Do you want to allow it to support you? Or do you want to fight it all year long? Because let me tell you, we've had years where we fought it. We've had whole long years when we have fought against growth and change. There have been times when we have held ourselves small as white knuckle to hold it, to let it stay the way it is. I like it right now. I don't want it to be any different. And we're afraid of that growth, afraid of that expansion. But I don't want to fight anymore, do you? There's no fighting this. Whatever is happening is there for your good, and you may not see it now, and you may not know it tomorrow, and you may not understand how the diagnosis, how the divorce, how the losing the job, how the financial struggles, however, whatever the experience you're having right now, whatever the challenge is, you might not know right now how it's for your good, but I can tell you it is. And there will be a time in 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years, any time, and tomorrow, that you will be able to look and see and say, yes, that is for my good. I would never have gotten to this if that didn't happen. Again, I remind you about birth. Okay, I'm just going to go on a tangent and I'm not going to do it. Okay, there we go. Right? Birth is not easy, it's messy, it's not fun, it hurts, but you get a baby at the end of it. This life is like birthing yourself. Sometimes it's messy, it's not easy, sometimes it hurts. But you get the gift of the baby of you, the new experience of you, the promise of what you've come here to experience, of what you get to create with God. We're not alone. We've never been. But somehow we've convinced ourselves that we have been and that we are. I'm excited that the book study's reading Christian D. Larson, and I found a quote from Your Forces and How to Use Them. Today it says this: "We are here to become great men and women, and with that purpose in view, we must eliminate everything in our religion and philosophy that tends to make the human mind a dependent weakling." I liked that. We're not weaklings, and we're not dependent. If you would serve God and be truly religious, do not kneel before God, but learn to walk with God and do something tangible every day to increase the happiness of mankind. This is religion that is worthwhile, and it is such religion alone that can please the infinite. Please the infinite. We're not here to please God as please let me make you happy. What pleases the infinite is when we live full lives, because we are living God's life. Each one of us is a divine aspect, a separate individual expression of God. And so the only way that the infinite divine, that is all things, that is, ever present, that is all, can know anything of itself is by our expression. And so the gift that we get the gift of life and being this individual expression, but the gift we give to life is a full one. That's how we give back to the divine. And that's what we're here to do, to be in that divine relationship. My intention this year is to have more fun, is to have great joy in my life. And so on the first day of the year, on January 1st, a girlfriend called me and said, hey, we're going salsa dancing in San Diego, you want to come? And I was like in my pajamas already at 4 o'clock, and I was like, oh. And I remembered my intention was to have more fun. And so I could have fun laying in my bed watching Mrs. Maisel again. Or I could, okay, so I heard myself say yes. And I got myself dressed up and drove all the way down to San Diego and took a class, and I started salsa dancing in the middle of it, 10 o'clock at night on January 1st. I was like, gosh darn it, I'm going to have more fun this year, right? And so what I saw as I was, I did it wasn't salsa actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I could do that, you know, they could turn me, I could do it, okay, that was fun. So that was fun for me, but what was more fun for me on my first time was to watch it. I got to watch these people who have obviously been doing it for years and then go to these social dances and they flip each other around and spin around and do these amazing things, right? And what I found there was God. That is the relationship we have with the divine. When you are with an amazing partner, they know how to spin you. You may not know where you're headed, but they do. When they guide you, every time I thought I was going to spin off the dance floor, there was a gentle arm that just held me on my shoulder. When I started to kind of slip off, because I was in my heels, when I slipped off my heels, there was a hand that picked me back up, and I was back. And what I found from that and watching it in other people is that's how we are with God. There is a divine hand and a guide and a partner that wants so much for you to have fun and joy. And in the spinning of life, how perfect is that an analogy? Because sometimes don't you feel like life is spinning us around? But even in the middle of the spin, there is that gentle guiding hand that's going to make sure you're on track. But it can never go off the track. You can never get out of the way, off the way, because the way is the divine way. And so that's our life. We are in relationship deeply with the powerful presence of God. And as we remember that, as we begin our year in that, as we steep ourselves in that knowing, there is only all of those gifts of the joy and the freedom and the peace that come to us. And so that's what I'm in for 2019. I'm in for a lot of fun, but I'm in for that peace in knowing that all is well no matter what. You in that with me? Yes. You want to join me in that? Because how good would it be for us to start our days and to end our days and to walk through our days knowing that no matter what happens, I am supported. To know that all is well and unfolding for my goodness and for my joy. And as we start our days in that, as we walk through our days in that, what happens is our muscle of faith, our faith muscle, gets really strong. And so when those challenging things pop up, when that difficulty happens, when there's something that just doesn't make any sense comes up in our lives, we can say to it, look, I don't know why you're here, but I know you're here for my good. And I know that this might hurt a little bit, but it's going to bring me something great. No matter what, there's no stopping us. And so I thought to begin what we would do this week as I come to a close here, I thought we'd end with a little bit of a meditation. I'm going to invite you, if you're comfortable, to close your eyes and take a breath. And just connect inside somewhere where that feeling of knowing there's something greater operating in your life is. Maybe it's in your solar plexus, maybe it's in your heart, maybe it's in the center of your head, I don't know. But just take a breath into that space where you know that there's something greater here for you. And so these are the words of Ernest Holmes. He says this: "The peace of God is at the center of my being. I am conscious of this peace. I enter into this peace. I am surrounded by this peace." Again, taking a breath. This peace moves out for me in all directions. It calms the troubled waters of my experience. It heals everything it contacts. There is nothing but peace. I rejoice in this peace. I permit this peace to enter my soul, to fill me me with calm, to inspire me with confidence. I know that this peace goes before me and makes perfect, plain, and straight my way. For I am is the way. And so it is. Come on back. Ready for great 2019.